3.
Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about this majestic, gorgeous, steaming pile of greatness from 1986 that is our 1986 Ford F250. And focusing on one of my most popular beliefs, my most loving belief, is that these old girls are way better than anything you can go buy off a dealer's lot today. So we'll get into it. So Seth, you're saying, whoa, what are you talking about? This old truck's better than what I can go buy with a touchscreen and AC and heated steering wheel and heated seats that drives for me? Now, I understand that I may differ from people on what you think of cool vehicles, which is fine by me, but let's run through key features of this guy as to why I believe that it is that great. So first off, like I said, 1986 Ford F250, 351 gas engine, carbureted. So, you know, some people might not like that. It can be a little bit finicky, whatnot. But what it does have in it is this majestic 4-speed, I think it's a T18 transmission, which has a granny low first gear. So, you know, any of you are landscapers or workers or do anything that, you know, involves needing a little bit of muscle, that thing will pull trees out of the ground. It'll pull crappy cars everywhere, just in first gear alone. And what's even better about it, it's got a manual transfer case. No push buttons, none of that jazz that you need a sensor to tell you when to go into 4-wheel drive. This just does it. It just does it. So, which that also means it has your skinny pedal, brake pedal, and your clutch, which is nice. And it has its own manual parking brake, so you don't have to worry about pressing a button and trying to fight with that. And then it doesn't yell at you when the door's open or whenever you have anything going like that. So that's one of my favorite features of it. Also, one thing that people might not like about old trucks, the horn doesn't work. But you know what you can do? You can just put a button right underneath the dash, hook it to the wiring end. That works just as fine.
Yes.
So that's one of the neat features of it. Also, like I said, bashing on newer vehicles nowadays, you say, Seth, 4-wheel drive, well, mine goes right into a button. Well, you know what? We need to go back to the times when people worked for what they did, right? So say you're out driving, you know, it's nice day, 32 degrees, and all of a sudden it goes from rain to snow, and you're like, well, crap, I got to put it in 4-wheel drive. So first off, you come out here, and what do? You lock the hub. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That hub disconnects the axle from the 4-wheel drive system, or I guess the hub from the 4-wheel drive axle. So you have to actually get out and lock that in so that you can be in 4-wheel drive. And it's actually really nice because technically the transfer case could still be in 4-wheel drive and you could disconnect it, which is also really nice for you boat owners and other people that do fun stuff, because you can technically put this in 2-wheel drive low and have the rear axle just be in a low gear and not have the front do anything. So it's really nice for backing up boats at like a boat launch or backing up trailers and stuff. So we bought this truck out of Montana in the fall of 2023, and it was virtually rust free. I mean, it still had surface rust, which is nice because it was in a semi-arid climate. Now you can see, unfortunately, a lot of dirt got packed up into the bedsides over the years, and those rot out anyway. There was a little bit of rust on there, but it's slowly propagated due to our humid climate and winter salt in Pennsylvania. But one great thing about this, hey, you like hauling a camper? You like going places that are far away from where you live? You got not one gas tank, you got 2 gas tanks. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. More fuel economy. Now, granted, this thing gets like 10 miles per gallon, but that's not far off from any of your 3/4 ton, 1 ton gas vehicles you have nowadays. I know, Seth. I want to drive a diesel. I need a diesel to be able to haul my camper. No, you don't. You don't need that. This will do anything one of those trucks will do. Granted, it might not do it as fast because then they got a 4-speed transmission and like it's winging $3 grand at 70 miles an hour, but in my opinion, it still does that at a better price point. So you're saying, Seth, price point. Would you pay for this old girl? Well, I like to factor in a couple of ways. The purchase price of this truck was $5,500, which some of you are gonna say, wow, you ever paid for that? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, maybe I did. But you know what? It was rust free. It ran. I think the folks put a fuel pump and an ignition box and an alternator on it. And it didn't run well. It had an old carburetor and stuff like that, which we'll get into the details of that here. But it ran and drove. A guy pulled it off a trailer and I drove it here and had no issues. Other good thing, you know, look at the bed size. It's an 8-foot bed that never has to be made, as Joe Diffie once said. But this is great for a lot of things. You can put a truck camper that's on a pickup that doesn't really work right now in here if you wanted to, and it's already got tie downs, which I installed on it. That's a whole other story. But it's really good for dump runs or scrap runs because you can fit way much more in it. Yeah, and you see trucks nowadays with beds that are 6.5, 5.5, and that's great and all. You got more room for the family. I get it. Everybody wants more room nowadays, but you can't beat an 8-foot bed. If you want to go to the drive-ins and sit in there with your old lady and, you know, watch a movie, you can lay in there and have a good time and not worry about it. You'd put a full-size mattress back there. No one has to worry about it. The other thing, too, that is really great about this truck and why I love these older Ford 3/4 tons so much is you have a full float Sterling 10 1/4 in this. Now, what's that mean, Seth? Well, most half-ton and some 3/4 ton axles nowadays are semi-float rear axles, which means it has one bearing in the hub and that basically distributes all the load of what you're towing or hauling. And those are only limited in scope as what they can do, and they put all of the pressure on the axle is my understanding, so all that load is on the actual shaft. Well, this takes all of that off and puts it outwards of the axle. I think it's still on the shaft technically because here's your shaft here, but it disperses it over 2 bearings and you know, allows you to have a heavier hauling capacity. And in my opinion, it's generally more easy to work on. I've taken a few of these apart now, and you just pull these bolts out. There's a tool to take a nut out of there. You pull it out, you service it, throw it back in, it's done. It's very simple. So like I said, I might have got the description of that wrong, but very simple, very heavy duty, easy to work on, perfect if you're hauling a camper or pickup bed camper or heavy loads. They're never going to complain about what you're doing to them. Now, what else is fun about this truck, Seth? Well, I'll tell you what else is fun. Character. Character is what's fun about this truck. And what do you mean by that? Well, I think the back end really tells you that, because the back end is always the best part. So this had a like 5th wheel tailgate on it, some fancy thing that was welded up, and it was pretty pieced together, which was nice. I liked it, but it was heavy. You had to go to both sides to open it and all that stuff. So what did I do? I found this gem off Facebook Marketplace for like 150 bucks. No, I know what you're saying, Seth. You ever paid blah 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 blah. I get it. I probably did. You can buy a reproduction tailgate for like 100 bucks or something on LMC, but you know what it doesn't have? All the linkage and everything already in it. So everything for $150. I think I had to weld up some of the seams haphazardly because they stuck together, and like I said, I don't care. It's an old truck. It's a tailgate. I put scrap and trash in this thing, and it doesn't really matter, but it works. You know, I don't have to worry about it getting all banged up or dirty, because everybody that has a new truck is like, oh, I need to rub it with a diaper every night before I go to sleep, and oh, I need to make it be fancy. No, I don't care. This thing's nice enough how it is. You got to give it that little extra oomph. You know, none of that just, oh, none of the open up and it just slides down. No, this thing it comes down, right? And then in order to put it up, you know, you have to make sure your tailgate's not going to fall down like any of these new ones with the accidental, you know, electronic locking or stuff. You want to know why? You have to really hammer it shut. That's what men do.
It's a stress relief.
Yeah. What else is great about the back end of this, Seth? Well, I'll tell you what. Well, we'll get to those mud flaps, Sam, but this bumper, this rear bumper is, I think it's a Weston brand. No, I'm wrong. It's a, well, this might just be the sticker from the company it's sold. I don't know, but it's a Luverne Truck Equipment Incorporated from Brandon, South Dakota. 8-inch drop bumper. Why is this so great? Look at this thing. This is cowboy right here. If a Prius runs into the back of this thing, it's not surviving. It's just not. And that's great, because you know some old boy owned this truck one day and was like, yeah, you know what? This thing's nice, but I need to open my J.C. Whitney catalog and just purchase everything for it that chromes it out and makes it so old man. And I personally love that. To me, that is the coolest stuff ever. And as you can see, it's been hacked together with all kinds of different trailer plugs, all kinds of other fun stuff. And you know what? I dig it, because it has character. What bumper are you gonna find off a new pickup that has character? It's just some cookie cutter BS that the company made, and it just, you know, is to fill its purpose and probably cost a lot less than anything like this, and it's probably gonna rot away in a few years because it's modern manufacturing. Now, the best part about this truck, and this was something that I personally modified myself, so you know it's half cocked, is the Big Sky Country Montana mud flaps. Now, what's funny is there was just a single piece of angle iron that was welded to the back leaf spring purchase that ran underneath this that connected these two, which was great. The problem is I like having a spare tire, and there's no spare tire mount, so I had some spare tire mount stuff laying around and have a full-size spare under there now, so I had to get rid of that. And I also put another fuel tank in it just because I wanted to make sure everything was kosher getting up to the front. But so I pulled that off, and then I used that same piece of angle iron, cut it in two, and then bolted it to this bumper to retain the beautiful, the elegant, the OG Big Sky Country Montana mud flaps.
Yes.
And that just sets it off. And people are gonna say, you're in Pennsylvania, you shouldn't be running them stuff. No, I'm doing it because, you know what? Like I said, old Jim Bob, whoever owned this before, put this bumper and bought these mud flaps specific for it. And I love it, and we're gonna keep it. Now, Seth, you're saying to me, this old truck's better than a new one? Well, what can I do? I can just go down to my local dealership with, I don't know, a couple grand in hand, a good credit score, and you know, a nice back and forth with a salesman and get myself in a brand new pickup. That's true, you can. For what? A comparable pickup this model year now is probably, I would say, pushing anywhere from $60,000 to $80,000. That's great. I don't like giving money to banks or financiers or anything like that. I like having that money in my own pocket. And like I said, furthering the fact that this is not a new pickup, this is not the original color on the thing. This was painted red oxide primer, I'm assuming, but since it sat out in the sun in the semi-arid eastern Montana, it faded over time, which is fine with me because I like the look of it. But as you can see, there's been some Bondo placed in this. This thing was definitely hitting the side. You can see down here and right here, all the Bondo crack coming out of it. And like I said, it's got some rust in the, you know, back by the wheel wells and stuff. But like, look at the character. Like I said, old Jim Bob probably bought these bed tie downs. He was hauling something there. I don't know if they were hay bales or what it was, but he needed them for their specific purpose. And that's cool, because who nowadays wants to self-tap a tie down into the side of their bed and just do it? I would, and I have no problem adding more on this truck, because while I love the thing, it's not perfect and I don't have to worry about washing or anything. Also, got these fancy, I think they're stainless, I don't think they're aluminum, they're some kind of steel polished bed caps, which are just beautiful. And you know whoever was driving this had a cap on it and a toolbox at one point, because there's holes drilled out for where you would have mounted a cap. And then you also got the diamond plate marks in here for where there was definitely a toolbox in here. So, and this truck could work too, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, it'll do work. Why do you say that, Seth? It's got a gooseneck hitch in the rear. Yeah, that's right. This thing probably pulled trailers at some point. And you know what? That thing was frozen on there when I bought this, with about a half hour's work, some grease, and a little bit of, you know, PB Blaster. That hitch will come up now. So I could technically haul a gooseneck if I wanted to with this. Now I need a place to put the chains, but you know what? I can cobble something together real quick. I don't have to have a dealership installed. I don't have to go buy the puck thingies. I don't have to worry about that. All right there, ready to go. Now, we're gonna get to the interior of this old girl. And one thing I wanna show you real quick, and you don't wanna do this with your newer vehicles because one, they'll yell at you, and two, you probably won't be able to make it work. I locked myself out of this truck one time, unfortunately. And the one positive was our garage window was open, so I was able to break into my own garage, grab a screwdriver and a hammer, and then break into my own pickup truck. Now, how'd you do that, Seth? Well, if you look at this lock cylinder right here, it's down. It doesn't work anymore. It's not locking anything. I took a screwdriver and a hammer and beat on that. Let's just say, we'll put it nicely, beat on that for a good while and was finally able to turn it. Now, where can you do that in your new pickup? You can't, because they're all electronic, and it'll yell at you, and it'll probably call the authorities on you. This truck does not call the authorities on me. It just takes it and it likes it. I have things to replace that, believe it or not, but you know what? I'm not going to until it becomes an actual problem. One other great thing about these trucks is the badging back in the day. And you don't get this type of badging. You know, this isn't your Carhartt GMC package or your, you know, Platinum Ford F250 King Ranch. No, it's not. This is your Lariat. And how do you know that? It says it right there, and that's the only place it says it. And that's what we need to go back to, is the simple thing. Now, despite the fact that I have to unlock this from the inside now, the interior on this truck is a real gem, which you already got a glimpse of. We'll delve a little bit deeper into it. Now, one fun thing about these old trucks, your door doesn't shut real well, Seth. It's a pain in the rear. Well, you know what you do? You go down to your local Tractor Supply, you buy some PEX tubing or some sort of 1/2-inch tubing, you cut it off, you slide it over the door, and you know what? Oh, it's so nice. Can't do that with a modern truck.
No.
Now, the one thing about these old pickups, as you can see, it's a great dog hauler, because we got nose marks all over here from both of our lovely canines. But you have the ability to fold the front seat down, which this seat didn't come with this truck. It had a really wrecked other bench seat. And I bought this out of New York for like $100-something. But look, you have your date, you have your dogs, you have some buddies. You just pull this down and get into the back. And there you are. And there's your back bench seat. And what's really nice, I won't show you because, you know, I actually do work on my truck, so I have stuff back here. You can actually fold this whole seat over and down onto a platform and throw a dog bed, a mattress back there. You could sleep back there, or your dogs are super comfy back there and they just love life. Ask me how I know. I have two that enjoy it.
Yes, they love it.
Now, as you can see, with any old vehicle, you're going to have some routine maintenance, and that happens with this truck. But as you heard in the earlier clip there, the starter's going out on this thing. I don't feel like replacing it until I actually have to. So I have one back there. I have a fuel pump, some oil, and some other accoutrements, a snow brush, and other fun things. Also, when I purchased this truck, it had some interior panels missing, so one thing to do is to have a bunch of old trucks like these, and then you have other ones that might mismatch, but they fit perfectly.
Let me try to get in here for that.
Yeah.
We got some gray, some tan. Oh, the seat belts. We have a red seat belt, a tan seat belt.
Yep, I think the seat belt's up here. This one's gray, that one's red.
Yeah.
So they're mismatched. Now, the interior was kind of haggard on this. Like I said, the carpet was kind of bad, so I did my best attempt at putting vinyl flooring in here, because I love vinyl flooring, and I just hit my head. That's what you heard. I did it in the middle of winter, which was the dumbest thing I ever could do, because it didn't really soften up, but it works well. It does its thing. Now, this came with this little bed rug on it, or dash rug, I guess you'd call it. It does have a crack where the speaker was there, but other than that, it's actually pretty decent shape. I just keep it on there because I picture old Jim Bob bought that because he really liked it. The headliner on this was kind of trash too. So Sam and I bought a cheap Amazon Mexican blanket and just glued it on to the other headliner and threw it in there. It works fine. It was a little too small, so it didn't go all the way around the trim, but it's a nice little accent piece. It just makes it, makes it bold.
Yes, and it makes all the brown and gray and red all blend together.
Oh, yeah.
With everything else in here.
Yeah, it really ties it together. Now, what else is cool about this, Seth, as I hop in here? Like I said, Jim Bob was a hard-working man. He didn't have time for BS. So what did he do? He put a gun rack in this thing. That's right. There were Vives in here, but he said, you know what? I need to have my shotgun or my 308 or whatever to kill varmints or road hunt for ditch chickens or whatever it is he wanted to do. So he had this in here. Now, right now, it's just currently used to hold fuses, gloves, other things, but you better damn well believe if I ever need to put a gun in here, preferably a long rifle or a shotgun, it's going up in here. But for your small arms, those go in here. And look, if I need to take my date out for a night at Dairy Queen, cup holders to put your cups, or I need to park at the local courthouse because I got to go take care of some business, I got change. And it even gives you instructions on jacking. Take that how you please, but it instructs you how to jack, which is great. We all need that sometimes. Also, it's kind of hard to see it from this perspective, but this came with like a cheap aftermarket CD player, and I found one out of an old Bronco, which is kind of a pain because it was for 4 speakers and this only has 2. Put that in there, so you know what? You got no tape players, you got no CDs, you got no Bluetooth, you got none of that. You got a radio, an AM FM radio. And let me tell you, there's nothing like free entertainment on the radio. Shout out to 96.1 Hank FM and 96.9 WTRN The Train, best stations out there. Not sponsored. I don't think they sponsor people, even if they would, but best radio stations out there. Now, most vehicles don't have this anymore, but you got your cigarette lighter and your ashtray. This actually didn't have one in here, but I pulled this out of one of my old trucks. It doesn't work super well, but if you hold it in a little bit, give her like 5 seconds-ish, and then pull it out. Oh, it's hot. It's not glowing, but it's hot. So if you need to light your cigarette, or, you know, need to start a fire somewhere, like say you're in the middle of the mountains and there's wolverines around you and you got to burn those wolverines, and you got the paper towel, a stick, and something else, you can light it on fire. Now, one other great thing about this truck is it doesn't have AC. Now, originally it did come with AC, but the good old boy that I bought this from took it off, which I like that. Makes it more simple. But what most people don't understand nowadays is you have AC in these old trucks. Well, what do you say that AC was removed and you don't have AC? Hold on. Vent windows. Or as my buddy Ron refers to these as, bumblebee in the crotchers. Because you do get a nice airflow across it. And it, you know, really cools things down. But unfortunately, every small insect that's flying ends up hitting you and flying in here. And unfortunately, you get bumblebees, wasps, flies, all kinds of other stuff. Just kind of get directed right at an unflattering area. So you kind of got to keep an eye out for that. But I'll tell you what, on days like today where it's 80 degrees and, you know, low humidity, really cools it down. I would say in the 70s, it's even too cold to have it open. You got to just kind of dial it back. Or if it's raining, you just put it this way and it still kind of directs some airflow, but not directly at you. It's great. It's lovely. And we need to get back to that. You hear that, auto manufacturers? Bring these back. Now, what else is cool about this truck, Seth, as I'm sitting here in the driver's seat? Well, I'll tell you what. One thing we need to get back to as well, manual windows. What's that, you say? I'm a Gen Z and never heard of those. There's a thing as manual crank windows. You know, electronics don't do everything for you, at least back in the day. Look at that. They always work. They go up and down. Sure, they require effort, but they work. And you know what? Everybody always says, oh man, I gotta pull up my Waze app or anything like that, or Google Maps. No, back then you didn't need that, and even nowadays you don't need that. I use it if I don't absolutely know where I'm going, but you know, I like to go by feel and let the road take me where I'm going. So you know what? You have the area down here where you can store your map or various accoutrements in your map holder. Look at that. Perfect for a nice road atlas or a nice foldable state map. There's some hardware in there that I'm not sure what it's from, but look at that. Perfect for your map.
You could also put snacks in there.
You could if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Sam does that and then wonders why mice get in her car when she leaves wrappers in there. But that's a whole other story for another day.
It is.
Now, what else is great about this, Seth? Well, let me show you real quick. This does not have automatic headlights, so you got to remember, turn them off. That's them right there. Turns your headlights on and off. This is running lights. This is your full headlights, and then off. So remember to turn them off. Windshield wipers are right here. They don't work. I mean, they do work whenever the truck's running, but the key's off right now, so those do work. And now, what's this hacked together piece of garbage you have right here, Seth? Well, I'll tell you what. This car came with a Edelbrock 1406, which is an automatic choke. I think it's a 650 CFM carb. I could be wrong there. Someone roast me in the comments. I don't care. That didn't really work too well, and I said, you know what? I like control. I like knowing what I'm doing. So what I do, I bought a brand new 1405 650 CFM carburetor, and the difference between a 1405, 1406 is that a 1405 is, you heard that correctly, ladies and gentlemen, manual choke. So you gotta adjust the choke when it's cold to get your proper air fuel mixture to get this old girl started, let her warm up a little bit, and then you just push her back in and she runs mint. It's great. You have all the control. You don't have to worry about sitting here trying to get started. No, everybody says, Seth, oh, electronic fuel injection does that for you. Yeah, it does, but when it goes wrong, is it easy to fix with a screwdriver or like a rag or just taking it off? No, it's not. So this gives you a little more control, and it also has a high idle feature in it because there's a cam on the carb that allows it to do it, so it warms up quicker. No more frosty, chilly mornings. You just go out here, start it up, pull that to the high idle position, let her, you know, start warming up quicker, letting her, you know, get more fuel in it. It's great. And the one thing that most people don't see with this truck is, Seth, well, there's no levers on the steering column. What do you do? How does this thing work? Well, this is your turn signals, obviously, and that's all you need right here. It's all you need. But, Seth, do you have high beams? What is this old ancient relic doesn't have high beams? Ladies and gentlemen, it does. Let me pull the parking brake off, which is manual, by the way, and it works. I mean, electric ones do too, but they're a pain in the rear. So when you have your headlights on, and you're like, oh, I need my high beams, floor switch. And look, you might be able to faintly see it there, but high beam, you really can't see it with the camera. Well, you kind of can, see it. But that's how you know that your high beams on. And then if someone's passing you, just click them right off.
The convenience of that.
Yeah, you don't have to be sitting here, oh, well, we don't know if they're clicking or not. Nope. You just click them on the floor. We need to bring that back too.
Agreed.
Well, I think now that's pretty much all for the luxurious interior in here. You know, no big touch screen, no fancy things yelling at you, nothing telling you that you need to check your kids in the back seat even though they aren't there. Just simplicity. We need that. So now we'll go under the old ranch up here and see what we got brewing under there. All right, so we popped the hood in this old girl so we can get a real look at what's going on underneath there. One other cool thing about this front end is old Jim Bob. That actually wasn't his name. I'm just making that up. It could have been. His name could have been Jim Bob.
It fits.
Yeah, we bought it from a people whose grandfather and father had passed away, and this was living on the ranch, so I don't know what their names were. I don't know if they even drove it a whole lot. I don't know what the deal is, but I like to thank them for making this awesome truck. So you got your bug catcher here, which is just dandy, and that would be fine on its own, but the old cattle pusher really completes it. You know, you're driving down the road, Bambi decides she wants to run in front of you and decides, hey, I want to, you know, try to make love to your truck, which deer seem to do because they run right at you even when your headlights are on. That pushes her down, and you don't destroy this precious grill or precious bumper. It just gets this guy.
Yes.
And the styling is just beautiful.
Yes.
And if you're on a ranch, you can, and you want to do some cow tipping, this is the perfect thing. You don't have to use the effort to tip cows.
Maybe they did. Who knows?
They could have. I don't know. That might be why there's this nice soft rubber on the front.
Yeah.
Now, for the real sweetness here under the hood, and Sam, get in here and look at some of this on the hood here. Like, see, nothing's perfect here.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about wiping this with a diaper or anything like that. You just, it is what it is. It sucks, but you know what? I'm not worried about the paint.
Nope.
Now here's the goodness. Now I've done some redneck cobbling on this, and you might say, Seth, some things under here don't look factory, and you'd be correct because I've taken the time to make them unfactory, but they're satisfactory to me.
Yes.
So the first thing is, this is a 351 Windsor gas V8 small block Ford, which I never really had one before this, but I will say I absolutely love this engine. It's simple. Parts are pretty cheap for it. It has adequate enough power for what I need it to do. And yeah, like I said, it's simple to work on. So it had this awesome old Edelbrock air cleaner on it. I changed the filter in it and I kept it because it's, you know, got some rusting on it, and I think it just looks awesome. I didn't do anything to the engine, you know, appearance wise. I did put new valve cover gaskets, put a new water pump, a new coil, other small stuff, hoses, but really I haven't really touched this thing. Spark plug wires, spark plugs. Yeah, it's been basically just how it was sitting in a field since, I think the plates last said 09. So it had been sitting for, you know, better part of 10 years or more when we got it. One cool thing about this engine too is that you might be able to read it right here, Sam. In 1986, Ford was geniuses, unlike how they are today. And the emissions rules were, if you had a truck that was over 8,500 GVWR, you didn't need a whole lot of emission stuff. And by emissions, I think it was mostly catalytic converters. So if you read right here on this thing, it says non-catalyst. So this truck came from the factory without catalytic converters. Now, unfortunately, it still had all of the EGR and all that other BS in it, but old Jim Bob decided he didn't want that anymore. That's garbage. We don't need that. So he took it all off, and I got it basically how it is now. It has still the bracketry and everything for it, but the only accessory drive it has on it is the alternator, the water pump, and power steering. It's simple. It's great. And it's a V-belt system too, so you don't have a serpentine system. So it's just 2 belts, and that's all it is to work on it. Other great things about this engine, like I said, I put a 650 Edelbrock 1405 on this, brand new. It runs great. I see the squirrels and the mice love living in the intake valley. I've cleaned that out a few times and there's still stuff there. Another nice thing is this has headers. Old Jim Bob installed headers on this thing. Now I don't know what brand they are. They're definitely pretty old. Half the bolts are missing in them, and they definitely have an exhaust leak, but it sounds great. The only thing they go back to is 2 small glass backs, and then it dumps right in front of the axle, which is awesome. Now I'm sort of getting off track with the why are new trucks versus old trucks better and blah, blah, blah. I mean, this should sell you on the old trucks alone. I think a carburetor for this thing was like 400 bucks. I've scavenged Rock Auto for parts for this thing just as backups. I think I put a fan clutch on this. I have pretty much one of everything to replace on this engine, you know, external wise, and I've probably only spent a couple $100. So it's ready to go. I don't have to go to the dealership, and then old Kathy at the front is saying, well, does it have 4-wheel drive or this and all this stuff? Well, we'll get to working on it. And then the mechanic hasn't touched it for 3 weeks, and she's like trying to tell you that they don't have parts and all that stuff. No, I work on it. I am the extended warranty. I fix it myself. And I say, oh, Seth, I don't have time to be doing that, blah, 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 blah. It's so easy. Like, I don't even have really good hand tools and stuff like that. And I work on this, and I've done stuff in the middle of winter at 20 degrees, and it's really simple. So yeah, that in itself speaks volumes, because you can easily work on this thing with just a standard socket set, screwdrivers, everything, and get around. Like just the other day, I had a fuel leak on the thing. I was driving to Tractor Supply to grab some stuff. I was like, man, it really smells like gas. I popped the hood, opened it up, saw there's a leak of fuel in the intake coming from one of the hoses, I think where it meets the hardline over there. Pulled out my Leatherman flathead screwdriver thing there, tightened it up, closed the hood, was fine. Now, another cool thing about not having a new truck and having an older truck is the ability to be able to modify things how you want them. So this truck, although it is older and does have some issues, the blend door doesn't work super well on it. So I have it locked into defrost, and yeah, I have it just basically locked into defrost and heat. So what does that mean? Well, I installed this awesome Chinesium valve so that you can turn off your coolant flow to your heater core at night. Now, that's good for 2 things. 1, it keeps you cool during the summer so your heater core isn't getting blasted with air. And 2, if your heater core starts leaking, you just close that valve and not worry about it. And if this thing starts leaking, then you just loop your heater hose over, and then you don't have heat, but you know, you can get home straight on the side of the road. It's not like the concoction of valves and lines and all that stuff they have on trucks nowadays. If you look in here, you're like, I don't even know where it starts or ends. Let's see. Now, another bad thing about older trucks, you get oil leaks and stuff. As you can see over here, I have a pretty bad oil leak. I think it's coming from the oil pan gasket. I thought it was a valve cover gasket, but so you know what you do? You do this weird thing that people used to do all the time that don't do it anymore, is you check the oil. There's a dipstick that you pull out and it tells you what the level is, and you check it. And if you need to add oil, you add it. It's weird. I don't know I don't know what that is. I don't know. Yeah, it's just weird. Blows people's minds. The other thing too, and people are gonna say, well, Seth, there's no fan shroud on that thing, probably overheats like an SOB, blah blah. No, it doesn't. Everybody always says you need a fan shroud for things. You don't. I have this cheap Chinesium aluminum radiator from eBay that I put into it. Pulls it just fine. Never have any issues. People are gonna say, oh, it's gonna leak in a year, and it might. But you know what? I'll spend $134 for a radiator and throw it in myself in like an hour. Now, the other thing about this truck is the washer fluid and the antifreeze overflow. Now, people are saying, you know, you purists out there, you're probably saying, so that's not from 1986, that's bullshit. You shouldn't be able to do that. Well, you know what? I had a spare truck that had one of them in it. I modified it to fit, and I've had it in there for probably 2 years now, and it works perfectly fine. It has no issues. That's another thing. Where can you find parts for a new truck that other different years you can just pull something off and slightly modify it to get it to work? You really can't, because one, you can't get the parts anymore because companies aren't making them because, you know, lean manufacturing and trying to be smart and profit and stuff like that. But these, you can easily find things readily available and just do it. So yeah, no emissions garbage, no EGRs, just probably not even a whole lot of horsepower of America under here, and it works, and it doesn't do it fast. I know you diesel guys, Seth, I gotta tow my 25-foot camper, so I need, you know, 500 horsepower and 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. No, you don't. No, you don't. This will work perfectly fine. People have done this for many years, and it works just fine. You can fix along the side of the road, and there's no big deal about it. Sure, you aren't gonna get there fast, and you aren't gonna get there efficiently with fuel mileage and stuff, but you know what? Sometimes I think we all need to slow down and enjoy what life was, and, you know, stop letting progress get in the way of enjoying what things are out there.
Yes. Also, if you're a diesel guy, do not roast us because we have a diesel too. Don't forget.
Yeah, when you know what? That thing doesn't run right. This thing was sitting on a ranch for 10 years at least. Like I said, few parts at it. The only thing that's ever given me issue on this is I had a slave cylinder go out on me, which it was probably the original one for the clutch. And that lasted almost 40 years, so I'm okay with that. And this thing kept blowing fuel pumps on me. And it has a mechanical fuel pump on the side of the engine block. I know, mind blowing. It's not electric in the tank. I found out that it was building too much pressure in the gas tanks and blowing out the diaphragms on them. And I've had this one on there for about a year now, and it's given me no issues. So, mind you, I probably, all things considered, with the purchase price of this truck and the money I have into it total, probably have 10 grand in this truck.
Yeah,
right?
we did get it shipped too.
We
I
did
think
get
we
it
forgot
shipped
to
too.
say that.
But with all the parts I have into it, getting it back to being roadworthy, getting it shipped and everything, I have $10,000 in that. I don't have any payments on it. I own this thing outright. I drive it as much as I want to, and it never gives me any issues, right? You know, what a comparable truck nowadays, depending on what model. I mean, I would say an XLT Lariat was probably the top package, if not one of the top packages in 1986. Let's just say you buy an F250 nowadays. Let's say probably an F250 Tremor is probably the top package nowadays. You're probably looking anywhere at 70 to 100 grand, I would imagine, right? So this is 10 to 20% the cost of that and everything you need it for without any of the excess in it. And I get it, we're moving fast as society and people like the creature comforts, but there's no better feeling than being in an old pickup and driving it down the road. You know, you get compliments from people, you just feel cool driving it. And yeah, I think people need to spend some more time enjoying that because it's a great feeling. And going back to the diesel thing, like I said, $10,000 in this thing. It runs and drives anywhere it wants to go. Like I said, doesn't do it fast. Sometimes it has small hiccups, but overall it's great. You look at that thing up there, I absolutely adore that truck. The gentleman that built it put a lot of money into the thing, and then we bought it secondhand from another owner who was a great guy. And it ran and drove perfectly for probably about half a year, but I've been fighting it for probably about a year now, almost a year.
Almost, yeah.
It'll run and drive decently for a little while, and mind you, that's a 7.3 Power Stroke. I've put way more money into that than I have into this thing, just trying to fix it, and it still has issues. You know, it's an electronically controlled diesel. The bare bones of it are pretty much the same as far as axles, all that stuff, but the electronically controlled diesel is a pain in the rear. And that's why I preach that I really enjoy these old gas engines, because they're simple. I mean, you have an ignition box in it, which those can go bad, but you just keep an extra with you and then it works fine. That, I mean, an H-pop, a high pressure oil pump's at least $500 for a reman, if not $1,000. And the gentleman that built that put really expensive, good parts in them, and they still went bad. This has cheap Rock Auto parts in it, and they work just fine. So that goes to show you that you don't need a diesel. This thing will haul just as much as that thing will, and it might not get there faster, it may not get there as efficient. You know, it may not be cool because it doesn't sound like, you know, rods are knocking all the time, but I would much rather drive this every day and be able to fix this on the side of the road than have to be stranded with that thing because parts are so expensive and I can't get to them or figure them out because I need a laptop computer to diagnose it. You know what you diagnose this with? Your mind and experience and hard work, not a laptop computer. So what are you telling me, Seth? Well, here's the thing. You're an American or a Canadian or Yugoslavian or whatever you want to be. You have rights, you're free, you have your own money, you can purchase whatever you want to, do whatever you want to, spend your time however you want to. However, monetarily, $10,000 for this pickup, all things considered, versus $100,000 for a new pickup. No loan, no interest, no companies, no dealing with salespeople, nothing. I own it. I don't make any payments. I pay insurance on it and the gas I put in it and the maintenance I do. I'll take that any day. Simplicity. This doesn't even have OBD2. It doesn't have a check engine light. It doesn't know what that is. Sure, does that make it harder to diagnose on your own? Yeah, but it's far simpler and you can figure it out with a few simple tests and understand what's going on and do it on your own if you want to, or take it to a mechanic and sure, they'll charge you their labor rate and probably more expensive parts to getting them from Napa or somewhere, but it's not anything crazy. You know what I mean? You can readily find parts available for these in junkyards, like I said, online, eBay, anything like that. Newer vehicles, I mean, I have plenty of buddies and family that have newer trucks. Some of them run great and they have no problems with them. They trade them in after 100,000 miles or X amount of years. Some of them fight them tooth and nail. They're in and out of dealerships constantly. Dealerships don't have parts. You got to call back and forth and deal with some, you know, 18-year-old kid that doesn't even know what an engine is, right? Like, I would much rather have one of my trucks be down and me work on it than have to deal with someone else not knowing what they're doing and give me the runaround and then charging me an arm and a leg because I don't have an extended warranty that I had to spend another $5,000 on just to be able to, you know, have work done it and not cost me an arm and a leg. For coolness factor, I let you be the judge of that. I personally love the old iron. I think the looks of them are far better. But people would say that the new trucks look better and they have far more features. Me, I'm a simple kind of guy. I like things simplistic. I like being able to work on it myself. I like feeling the breeze in my hair and the crackling of the FM radio through the 40-year-old speakers. Some people like touch screens and cruise control and creature comforts and heated steering wheels. So at the end of the day, it's yours to decide. But me, I'll take the old trucks.